In this module, we'll focus on techniques that can be applied to combine and format strings. We'll begin by applying operators to concatenate string values. We'll then learn how we can format types such as numbers and dates into their string representation. We'll apply composite formatting to combine strings and learn about using the format component to control how the value is formatted. We'll learn about static methods that we can use on the string type to concatenate and join strings. And we'll conclude by learning how to use string interpolation to produce more concise, readable code that combines strings. We'll touch on a new concept introduced in C#10 called interpolated string handlers that avoids common allocations caused when using interpolated strings. In this demo, we'll use operators to concatenate strings at runtime. As we close in on the final functionality for our data processor proof of concept, we'll begin working on several report writers. Each writer will be responsible for producing a formatted report that can be written to one or more outputs. The processing options stores a collection of output writers. Output writers are registered in the program file. 2 output writers are currently registered. For this application, we've been asked to integrate with a third-party file writer that forces us to produce each report as a complete string. In a real-world application, a better approach would be to stream the output rather than build a single large string. But we'll assume that this is not possible for our demo scenario. We've been asked to produce a report summarizing the processed sales data. This report should begin with a line showing who exported the data. The report should include details for each sold product, split across 3 lines. The first line should include the date of the sale, the second, the product name, and the final line, the product SKU. We'll begin with a possible implementation of the sales data summary report writer. In the remaining modules, we'll use several techniques to concatenate strings. In this clip, we will use C# operators. We'll create a new string, assigning a string literal to a variable named formatted output. We want to concatenate the user's name as part of this first line. We can use the plus operator to achieve this when working with strings. We can add the forename of the user from the session context. We'll then add a literal space, followed by the surname. We want this to be the first line of the formatted report, so we must conclude with a new line. We'll use the environment.newLine property to apply the default newline character or characters of the runtime operating system. To add details for each sale, we'll begin a for each loop. We'll iterate the sales data ordered by the sale date and time. We'll deal with including the date row in the following clip. We can use the addition assignment operator, a plus followed by an equals character, to add more data to the string. We'll include a label, plus the product name and a new line. We'll do the same for the product SKU. Each of these adds more data to the final string. I need to issue an important warning here. This approach for building strings, particularly when used inside a loop, is not recommended. It can cause significant allocations. We'll learn about more efficient approaches before we conclude the course. I'm showing it here for demonstration purposes. Using operators to build up strings is a compiler feature. When the C# compiler sees code using operators on strings, it produces a compiled application that uses string methods to achieve the concatenation. In the case of this first line of code, what the compiler produces is closer to this code. The code creates a string array to hold each part of the final string. It then calls string.concat, passing in the array of partial strings. The concat method creates a string by concatenating 2 or more string instances. It becomes clear why using operators to combine strings can be quite inefficient, due to this use of temporary arrays to hold the strings that are being concatenated. As I said, we'll return to better approaches soon. We need to wire up this report writer as part of sales data processing. Inside the process sales data samples async static method, we'll create an instance of the summary report writer when there is UK sales data present. We can then invoke its writeAsync method, providing the file name for the output and the process data to be written. We should also pass along the cancellation token. If I run the application, provide my details, and wait for it to complete processing, I can navigate to my configured output directory and open the UK sales text file. Our initial rows have been written as expected.